Look, you know what I'm gonna say. You know what I'm gonna fucking say about this episode. Valon's crush ruins everything. Like, come on. Although I will say this is an interesting return because for the past little while we've had a lot uh, of the dub gaining points, mostly because the sub has just been sucking, and that is why, by the way. The last time we had a sub win for the episode was actually Torn Soul, uh, Trial by Stone, because that one was actually the melancholy was just better, you know. Then of course we had Fate of the Pharaoh, which was a rant view because duh. Uh, then we had the dub winning again, and again because the sub fucked up. Then we had a rant view when it came to My Freaky Valentine. And so yeah, we haven't had a neither, which is what this episode got, since the seventh episode of the arc, all the way back, all the way back at episode 7 of the arc. This is episode 21 of the arc for reference. Yeah, 151 was episode 151 was the last time we had a neither. And now once again we have a neither. So hey, there we go. I was mentioning how I was kind of it was weird because it was like I was kind of being shocked that the dub was winning points, right? Because again, which is funny because the dub is actually winning in this arc just overall. Hell, if you actually sit down and look at it, because New Evil gave it 2 points. Uh it gave the dub 2 points. Uh Legend of the Dragon and Creator Returns were neither. Deja Duel, I think, was both for the sub. Yeps. So okay, so that was a tie. So that tied it up. Up. Then Unexpected Enemy was neither. That was a rant view. And then the dub just started gaining points out of freaking nowhere. It was tied, and then the dub started pulling ahead. Head by another six. Pulled ahead and gained 6 points. And then the sub gained 1 extra point. So there's like a 5 point difference if we want to actually look at the arc as a whole, right? With the dub winning for the record. Now, obviously, rant views are effectively neither, because why the fuck would I want to watch any rant view episode in either version again? I've been tempted in a couple of cases, but at the same time, no. The episode effectively when an episode gets dragged down to rant view, it means that even the Japanese version was rant view worthy. That's the whole point in these specific cases. Now, obviously, when I get to things like Hexel, season 4 of GX, the final arc of 5Ds, and, Zexel and on, it'll be a lot easier for an episode to get rant view status because I'm only watching one version of the episode. I'm not actually going to be continuing the dub. Again, the whole point of looking at the dubs at all for the Yu-Gi-Oh series was because of nostalgia, and my nostalgia ends at 5Ds. 5Ds is where it fully stops. Yes, I kind of fell off of GX, but I still watched to the end of season 3. And then 5Ds, I did actually watch because I was actually intrigued by 5Ds. GX kind of made me fall off, and then 5Ds kind of brought me back. And then Zexal killed any appreciation I had for Yu-Gi-Oh animes ever. You know, I tried to watch Arc 5, fell off of it. It Vrains I kind of tried to, but then circumstances kind of mitigated that, so shrug, right? And then here we are. And obviously with the Go Rush, I just don't have I it's not because the animation changed, it's not because of anything else. It's because the whole reason I don't watch the Rush animes is because I'm not interested in Rush duels. And that is the reason. I'm interested in the master duels. I don't care for, for that kind of thing. Hell, speed duels over in Vrains was already pushing it. So this episode is basically the only contribution to the arc that Rebecca and Otugi really have. I mean, yeah, Rebecca's gonna have some is going to have some contributions later, specifically during fighting for a friend, if memory serves. But otherwise, yeah, no. This okay. I suppose this is where we really got to talk about my problems with Valon. Don't I? Because this is effectively one of one of effectively four Valon episodes. Notes. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't fighting for a friend a five-parter, Blue Wolf? Yeah, but that kind of skirts the line. Would skirt the line of, you know, of my, one video for per duel format that I'm going to try to play out for GX when we get to season 4 of that show, because you know, Joey defeats Valon. Spoilers. Spoilers, I guess. Valon defeats. Valon is dealt with, and then Joey immediately is forced to face off against Mai, and that of course leads to all of the, to that, right? If you can't tell, I'm actually getting sick of watching this arc. Full talk. I know I'm blowing my load a little too early here because we're only at the halfway point of the arc. Basically, this is effectively the start of the second half of the arc. Episode 21 of the season. But I don't think I'm ever watching this arc again, ever. I might, I might reread, the old version of the version of it that my best friend, that Steve wrote, but otherwise, no, I'm not interacting with the Orichalcos arc anymore because I don't think it's very good. It's funny because the Orichalcos arc has always been very hit or miss for me. Hey, every single time when I first saw it, I was intrigued. I was gobsmacked. I didn't like my turning evil, and I didn't like Atem turning evil, but I liked the monsters. I liked the duels. I liked the train duel. I liked Berserker Soul. Well, Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, hate Amulet Dragon, and Braz Black Dragon Sword. All of that stuff was great. But the problem for me is that I don't care. I got older and I started to realize that the Doma organization as a bunch of antagonists because they're underdeveloped. I hate Valon Valon is my most hated member of the Orichalcos team. If although I will go ahead and say that actually depends more so on which version I'm watching, because if I'm watching the sub, Valon's the worst. There's zero question. If it's the dub, then I have to actually debate myself of whether I hate Valon or Alistair more, because Alistair is extremely fucking petty in the dub. So if you're worried about the whole what the hell, the dub has effectively caught up and is only 1 point behind the sub right now. Don't worry, Flight of Fear is going to jump that up 2 points. It's right. And I don't predict Fighting for a Friend and is going to jump that score up in the dub's favor either. I really don't. I seriously doubt it. I think the animation and any censorship that 4Kids has done, which I know they've done to Fighting for a Friend, and is probably just going to shift the balance into the sub's favor. That is my prediction. Then again, I've been making that prediction. I made that prediction just before we even started talking about this arc, and look where we are. The overall preference score right now for the season alone is in the dub's favor. So what the fuck do I know anymore? You know. Is it nostalgia? Probably. But at the same time, it's like, no, I actually think that's more so just a case of there are flaws with this fucking arc that just suck, in my blunt opinion, right? But I digress. So here's my biggest problem with well, my biggest problem with Valon. Because Valon's entire character arc is all about him having this giant fucking crush on Mai, and it's underdeveloped. That is my big problem with it in a nutshell. It is an underdeveloped thing. Valon coming along and being a misguided soul that wants to have sex with Mai, wants to fuck Mai. And yes, I am putting it that way because, again, that's why I call it a crush. She is lusting after her. It could have worked if we were actually being serious. But instead, this is Paul stealing Mary Jane away from Peter Parker. If those For those of you not aware, I'm only aware because YouTube recommends. Apparently, there's some jackass named Paul in the Spider-Man comics, and he's effectively Mary Jane's current boyfriend, husband stuff. I don't know. I don't follow comics, obviously, but yeah, no, I just yeah, obviously I'm not a fan of that idea, but then again, it would give them an excuse to actually make my ship canon, but that's beside the point. My Spider-Man ship canon. Spider-Man and Black Cat for the win. And no, for the record, I don't want. I'm the kind of person who there's specific villains that I would actually turn into heroes. For example, I would never turn the Joker into a hero. Catwoman, that's a little more good, which is funny because they actually turned Poison Ivy into an anti-hero. And Harley Quinn in the Harley Quinn show was more of an anti-hero too, now that I'm thinking about it. So those are ones I would never have thought to do, but hey, if you make it work, you can make it work, right? And then so yeah, Catwoman, because petty thief turned into a vigilante, that could work. That could work, and I've always saw that as kind of my preferred end game for Catwoman. She effectively becomes Batman's wife. Something like better than the woman who drugged and banged him to give him a son named Damien. uh, but anyways, but yeah, no, I like it. So yeah, but to circle back so that I don't start getting off any further off on this tangent. I do think having Valon be a new love interest for Mai, if they didn't want to go the whole Joey and Mai ship thing, would have worked if they had workshopped it. If we had been seeing this slowly develop over the course of things. But the problem is that we haven't. Valon has barely been on screen. In fact, I think the last time he was actually on screen. Hang on. I think the last time he was actually even on screen once was like Trial by Stone. And that was just him, being at headquarters, because where the hell else would he be, right? Also, how the hell did was his arm just about to come out of that cast like that day? Hey, and that's why he's able to just go hop on his bike and go chase Mai around. And like literally, we see him in the opening scene, and his arm is still in the sling, and then the very next scene we see him, he's on his bike, no sling. What? And for the record, he full on goes into his armor gravitation. I'm gonna fucking physically punch your monster too. So it's just like what? Did we have like a few days time skip or something? I say a few days because I could see him being very close to healing, because time frames are not clearly defined in this arc, but that's beside the point. Mai also is still acting like a bitch. Bitch, stay out of my business, even you, darts. Which you would think she'd be a little more cautious about saying that shit to darts, considering he's the one who fucking handed her the power. But then again, we have to make it so that Mai has no fucking brains in this arc, on top of making her a bitch. So shrug, I guess. So then she goes out and Valon tries to convince her to in the sub leave Jinochi to him, and in the dub let him help her fight Jinochi. Nochi. In the sub, he literally says, "Oh, I'll even fight darts for you." Okay, where the hell is this crush coming from? Like, you went from "I can help you out" to, in the flashbacks, to "I am now your simp." Like, this is literally simping behavior, for fuck's sakes. He's literally saying, "I will fight the fucking planet for you." It's like, what? Even darts? Okay, now you're just fucked in the head, Ed Valen. Sit your fucking ass down and be humble, bitch. Joey only whips out his fists when he has to, and that's probably why there's a part of her that wants him. Part of Mai that wants him. I mean, we'll touch on the Dub's explanation for that when we get there, but yeah. Like, she's seriously just not into you, Valen. So then, Duke and Rebecca happen upon the two. No, well, that's fucking convenient. Rebecca challenges him, and Valen's like, sure, I'll show off for sure, why not? I'll beat the shit out of you two. Rebecca then, of course, is just playing Luster Dragon and Luster Dragon number 2, and that's like the extent of her stuff, other than Rope of Life and Mirror Force. Which Mirror Force. By the way, Valen's effects are not explained when he does full armored gravitation. He doesn't explain active guard. Active guard. Whatchamacallit. It going ahead and negating damage. That's the first thing. He literally says in both versions, "Let's test your theory," and it's like, what? So so we're going to. So let me check active guard. Now, for the record, active guard, which is the chest armor piece that that Valon has is its effect. It has 2,500 defense, no attack. Heck, you take no damage this turn. If you use this effect, destroy this card during the end phase. There's only one armor card can attack per turn. If you control 2 or more armor cards and one is selected for an attack target, you can change the target to another armor monster you control. Now, I don't even remember it. I honestly admit that I don't even know which. I don't even know which was which when it came to the one, because I'm sure there's at least uh one thing, because he had Big Bang Blow. Oh, he had. I think he had Buster Pile. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm doing this live because I frankly don't care all that much. No, Buster Pile wasn't until he actually fought that. I think it was either the head or the, although it sounds more right when it comes to that. So let's see. Here we go. Overboost is the legs. Armor monsters you control can attack your opponent directly. Fat lot of good that does. And then it's okay. So that one is basically overboost is literally just direct attack. Heck, Psychic Armor Head is of course the one where you can do that. I guess it must have been Trap Buster. I'm going to assume that it was Trap Buster that. I'm going to assume it was Trap Buster that that Valon had. Which actually makes a lot of sense because it's the left arm and he was flexing with his right. Right, when he was talking about Big Bang Blow, so. Oh, so I'm gonna assume it was Trap Buster, which was not explained because, of course, I mean, the fact that I had to look it up at all should really say that. So there you go. So yeah, it was Trap Buster that negated Mirror Force, or his active guard, which prevented him from losing, and then Mai basically just fucks off. Even though in the dub she says, okay, that was actually kind of impressive. But yeah, no. Like, you noticed how much time I just wasted with that? Like, I'm probably gonna slim that down, by the way. Whether or not I'm gonna bother, whether or not I'm gonna bother putting up images of the cards of the anime exclusive cards is another matter, but I probably won't because there's no real point. Which is funny because we've actually seen Luster Dragon number 2 before now that I'm thinking about it, because Virtual World arc, but I digress. And actually, what's funny is we're going to see Kaiba use Luster Dragon number 2 now that I'm thinking about it, because he uses it in the KC Grand Prix as well. Huh. Go figure. But yeah, no, I'm just rambling at this point. There is no point to this episode. My opinion. I feel like I feel like this episode just doesn't work for me on any level. And that's why I gave this one an E rank. Last time I liked some of the commentary from Atem and the dub, right? This should work, or maybe not. You know, it was kind of funny, kind of endearing in a weird way. But yeah, no, this episode was just this episode was just boring. Is the big crime, right? Because and of course Valon, has to be the tough guy at the end. It has to be the tough guy at the end, Tell Janochi he's next. Tell Joey / Janochi he's next. Well, he says Wheeler in the dub, but you get my point. But you get my point. Yeah. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm not a fan of this episode. So, yeah. That's Deck of Armor. A nothing burger of an episode that I will never watch again. Because I've never liked this episode, and this episode is just, it's forgettable. It's utterly forgettable. But that's gonna do it for me for now. Next time is Flight of Fear. Until next time, Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Duel stand by. Hey, later.